Yeah, no, I think we can get started. Thank you, Vui, for the introduction. And hello, everyone. It's so great to be here and share more with you about how you can transform obstacles into opportunities. As Vui had mentioned, I have practiced parkour in San Jose, and so that's where I got the name of this talk, because in parkour, there's this concept called the PK vision, or the parkour vision. And essentially what that is imagining multiple ways to navigate an obstacle, like a fence or a hurdle. So you could, climb over the fence or vault over it, or in some cases, you could do what's called a Kong vault and dive toward like Superman, right? Um, and these are all different ways you could, get over a hurdle. And thinking about this when I was practicing in San Jose, I thought to myself, how could I use PK vision in my work life and do something similar, right? I wanted to figure out multiple ways to do the things I want to do in my career. And so, as Vui has mentioned, I am in my career in the gaming industry, so I'm a 10 plus year vet. I've shipped and scaled over 20 games in startups, mid-sized companies, and large-sized companies. Again, most recently on Harry Potter Puzzles and Spells and Merge Dragons. And for those of you on all walks of life with us today, I wanted to share that I started off as a UI engineer and worked my way up into a tech director and engineering manager. And the reason I went into engineering management is because in addition to developing games, I really enjoy developing the potential in people. So when I meet people, sometimes they feel a little bit like the left, where like their life's not quite where they want it, the pieces aren't fitting in exactly the way they want it to do. And so I want them to help, I want to help them experience success. And I've coached over dozens of students, software engineers, and even managers to help them realize their career aspirations. So again, I'm thrilled to be here and help you do the same. And my promise to you is that you're going to leave empowered with 3 new skills. The first of these skills is you're going to be able to change your frame of reference on your situation. And this will enable you to see new perspectives to your situation or your obstacle that you're hoping to overcome. The second is you're going to learn how to ideate solutions to that obstacle. And while this image is of, science woman near the toilet, I put it here because I think some people do their best thinking on the toilet. You won't need a toilet for this step, but you're welcome to use it if that's your jam. And finally, the third thing that you're going to come away with is you're going to learn how to start having meaningful conversations with your manager and your team. And these meaningful conversations are the key to creating the new opportunities and enabling you to execute them. And the way you're going to do these and come away with these 3 new skills is through a set of instructions or an algorithm of 4 easy steps. And so, of course, what better way that women in code than to have some coding, right? So let's do a little bit of live coding with my algorithm of abbreviated transform obstacles into opportunities. So the first step is going to be, you're going to confront the challenge. And in this phase, the key here is to understand your motivation as well as help you identify what the issue is that you want to solve. The next step is observing opportunities. And this is where you're going to do the PK vision, right? This is where you're going to end up doing a lot of ideation and figure out, gathering information to figure out what are the different ways you could achieve your opportunity or see what other opportunities there are. Next, you're going to decompose the design. So of the list of opportunities you have, you probably have a couple that are these are really solid. You should probably pick one of those and say, I think this is the one I want to execute on. So similar to writing a feature, you're going to decompose the design of that opportunity and make smaller SMART goals, if you will, that you can execute against. And last, I mentioned execute. So you're going to execute excellence. Once you have the design decomposed and you're like, okay, I got this opportunity, we're ready to go, you're going to pitch it to whoever else is involved in that decision, right? Whoever else needs to help champion you or, get you the opportunity to do that opportunity that you're presenting. This is, the execute excellence step. Now, I want to take a moment and share some exciting news about one of my mentees who is using this algorithm. She, has been in the industry for over 5 years now. And, the past couple of years, she was thinking, I want to explore management because she thought she'd be good at it, right? And to help her make the decision, she was like, I need to get some experience. So she talked with her boss who was supportive and was like, yeah, absolutely, great aspiration. And then she asked, what do I need to do to get there, right? And what she received was, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great. So she did that, kept doing what she was doing great. But over the year, she didn't see any progress or change in the response when getting feedback. It was still keep doing what you're doing. So she started using, some more questions and was like, well, I am doing this. how do I, become a manager or get more manager experience? And this is when she gathered some information and her boss told her about how, hey, sorry, we have limited opportunity in the team, but when one comes up, we're going to think of you, okay? Around this time, she started having a mentorship relationship with me, and we worked through this algorithm. I'm so happy to share that with this algorithm, she was able to get experience outside of the team, demonstrate this to her boss, and is now being involved in managerial tasks within her own team. And just this past month, she told me in our last one-on-one that her boss recognized that she'd been operating at the level of a manager for the past year. And they are now working on making this recognition official with a promotion. So like, wow, like, going from like, keep doing what you're doing to like, hey, yeah, you're actually doing awesome. Let's make this official, right? All because she started doing this kind of algorithm. And again, this is one example of how the algorithm helped one of my mentees. So I'm excited to show and share with you how it can help you. And to do that, I want to, I'm seeing the comments, thank you, I'm glad you all like the format. I want to learn a bit more about you all. And I'm going to pose you a question and invite you to come use the chat. So most people I talk with have aspirations that, they want a promotion or maybe some experience. Sometimes they even want additional support, right? Benefits or what have you. I invite you to tell me in the chat box by posting either 1 or 2, or if you have something separate that is not promotion or experience, you post 3, about what the aspiration is that you have and the current obstacle you're facing with that. Because what I would like to do is talk through some of these as we work through the algorithm together. So I'm going to give you a little bit of time to post in the chat, put 1, 2, if you're feeling like you want to share 3, go ahead, share 3 as the number you want to post. But just curious, what are you all interested in doing? Seeing 2 from Debbie, Vivian on a 2, Breno 2. Lots of 2s. Okay, wow, experiences. Awesome. Okay, 2 is looking like a landslide. Recognition for work in 1 from Shalmali. All right, and some 1s. All right, cool. So we got a good fair mixture here. Thank you all. Let's talk a little bit about the kind of experiences you want. So to do that, we'll go to our first step. And the confront challenge step is the ask yourself phase. Do the 3, I love that. The confront challenge step, which is, again, asking yourself and understanding what is motivating to you, right? So I'm going to pose a question to you, which is, what is the problem you're trying to solve? A lot of you are saying you want more experiences. And so what is it about this experience that you want, right? Maybe you can tell me in chat if there's something like, I want to do more coding on a certain kind of tech stack, or I want, similar to my mentee, I want to explore management, like those kind of things would be helpful to know. But again, this is for you to understand, what is it that you're trying to solve? Because sometimes people say, oh, well, I want a promotion. And really, they didn't want the promotion because the promotion comes with new responsibilities. Really what they wanted was, I want recognition for the work I'm doing, right? Or really they wanted like maybe a pay raise, whatever it is, right? So understanding what is the real problem you're trying to solve and not just jump to the solution. Next, you're gonna, once you ask yourself like, okay, really what is it what I want to solve? You're gonna answer the question, how is solving this problem gonna help you? So, okay, I'm seeing in chat here, you're seeing got promoted, but you wanna keep climbing, gain more exposure on coding and in the industry. And then got a question I'll answer probably near the end. And explore more breadth within your platform on mobile. Okay, yeah, so these kind of experiences are the things where, if you want more experience within a certain platform, why do you want that experience and how is that going to help you do what you want to do? Is it going to make you a better programmer? Is it going to, enable you to lead a team? How is this getting more experience solving something you want to do? So I'm just taking a look in chat here. You want to have more opportunities so you can afford to be choosy about work. It's always great, yeah. Having more skills and experience enables you to have your pick of the pie, if you will. Help people in the community, yeah, working on real projects. All right, so great. You all have a good understanding of like what it is that you want to solve and how is it going to, help you. The next is let's observe some opportunities, right? And for the next couple of slides, I'm going to be assuming that this is within your team. If this is something more personal on a personal project, it still applies, but what I'll be speaking to is mostly within the context of a team. So observing opportunities is the phase where you're going to do some information gathering. You're going to, survey the land, if you will, to see, well, what is impacting my decision? Who are the people who are, related to this, and what are the external factors that may be involved. So again, in my mentee's case, her external factor was her team, wasn't looking to scale. So there was a little bit limited opportunity for the management at the time what she was looking for, right? And so that could be an example of, like, if she had that earlier on, she could have figured out other ways to go about the problem, right? And so let's jump into some questions here. The first is obviously, what have you tried already? Again, my mentee had talked to her boss and was having frequent one-on-ones and discussing this. It's good to get a catalog of what you tried already, because you know what is either kind of working or not really working, right? The next is the flip side. What haven't you tried and why? And I pose the why here because a lot of the times we don't follow through on things that we're like, oh, well, maybe I should talk to someone, right? Like, a lot of times people don't even want to talk to their bosses about, like, what it is they want to do, because they're afraid they're going to look, silly or whatever. And understanding the why of, like, well, why haven't you done that? Like, can help you, gain either the courage or, talk to someone else about a different approach and help you brainstorm how to actually do the thing you want to do. And the key thing here is who can share more info or information on your situation, right? A lot of the times people, think like, I have all the information already. And the reality is there's so many other things going on when you're in, again, the context of a company or a team, that being able to talk to the people who are like, hey, this person knows more about hiring or knows more about management, for example, or this person knows a lot about this tech stack, or is leading development on some platform you want to get experience in, right? Who can you go reach out to, and they can tell you more about what's going on in the sphere that you want to explore, right? And I'm taking a look at chat right now. And so got some more people saying they want opportunities for internships and gaining real life experience solving real life problems. Okay, yeah. Just taking a look. And you want web developer positions. So a lot of these are, again, like, how do you get the experience to demonstrate you're capable? And so being able to understand, an example there would be, how do you, like, what info do you need to demonstrate that you're capable? Who is making the call about if you're capable to do something or not, right? And being able to get their opinion as well as information about what it is that goes into deciding factor for you. And the other thing here is the last bit of this information gathering is, how is solving your problem going to help others, right? So this is kind of the foil to the first step, which is understanding your own motivations. If your problem can solve someone else's problem or help enable them to do things they want to do, it becomes even easier to create an opportunity for you to do that, right? And so being able to tie your motivation, your personal motivation, into something that's relevant to your team or your company or your manager, like, those are the kind of things that are going to be able to make a strong case for when you decide, okay, which of these looks like a plausible opportunity I want to pursue, and then present to someone who's involved, right? So again, I want to iterate here. It's not just thinking about, like, how you're solving your own problems for yourself. You need to talk about, like, and think about, how are you solving problems for others? Because when you help others, it becomes mutually beneficial, and it's much easier to give you opportunity to do the thing you want to do. All right, so we're on our third step now in decomposing the design. Let's say we thought about the opportunities. We have a list of things we can choose from, and we're like, okay, cool. I have this opportunity, looks like the best one that I could probably work on, right? This is the step where you're going to break that into SMART goals. And I think most people here know what a SMART goal is. If you don't, please say something in chat and I can help explain it. But essentially what a SMART goal is something that you can make achievable and something you track, right? There's other parts to it too. For example, the acronym I like to use is from Ken Blanchard, and it's SMART is specific, so it's a very specific task you work on. The M is motivational, so what is motivating to you? The A is achievable, make sure it's something you can actually do, not like jump to the moon or something. You can't jump to the moon right now. And then the R is relevant, again, something related to your company or your boss or your team. And finally, the T is trackable, so something you can actually work on. And so using that SMART goal idea to frame your problem, how can you break the opportunity you have into smaller problems so that you can solve each of these smaller tasks, right? And this is helpful because one, it helps you think through what are the things you need to do, because eventually you're going to do these things. And second, it helps bring other people along with you. Say, hey, boss, here's I want to be a manager. I've broken out that idea how to do these skills, get interviewing experience. I have to, be a part of triaging bugs or whatever. Like breaking those into smaller tasks to be able to show the different steps and components that go into what the opportunities you want to do is the whole point about how can you break this problem into smaller problems. And again, I keep talking about getting people involved because this goes into the wider context of having meaningful conversations. And that is, who else is involved in the decision? Who needs to be able to weigh in on something? Sometimes you might think, oh, my boss isn't helping me out. But the reality is your boss's hands are tied. So understanding who else may be involved in the decision could be helpful, right? And ask that, if you don't know how to get the info or who is going to be a deciding factor, you should definitely ask your boss or whoever is involved, who else needs to weigh in on this, right? And that can help you, make sure that you go pitch to them as well about and get their insight and invite them, right? And once you figure out who those people who are involved, you have to figure out how can you help them help you. And so in the case of my mentee, I'll take for example, she wanted to get experience with interviewing. And again, she wasn't having very much luck on her team. She was able to find help on another team that would give her experience to interview. And they needed help because they didn't have enough interviewers, right? So it was win-win. And understanding if you could be like, hey, will you let me go on your team and I think I could help shadow and eventually I could help lead some of it. This was perfect for her situation. So thinking about that example, how can you do something similar? Like how can you, in your situation, think about, hey, I know what I got to do. I know who's involved. How do I help them help me in this situation? So I like to think of it as, handing, a gift over to them. Be like, here you go. Like, this is going to be helpful. And more specifically, if you want something from someone, telling them, hey, I really like your help with this, and here's how you can help me. That's so much more helpful than just saying, I need your help. All right, cool. So now we have the design decomposed. We know all the, the ins and outs of what we're going to propose to whoever's involved in the decision making. The next is to execute excellence. And this is just do the thing, right? It's like, just do it. And so you're going to pitch the solution to whoever's the decision maker and get their buy-in. You're going to see what it is they think. Hey, boss, I really want to get management experience. Or I want to learn more about this mobile platform. And here is, the steps that you decomposed about how I think we can do it. And you're going to pause and you're going to ask this question. What are your thoughts on that? And this is so important to ask because it invites them to be a part of the solution. And when people feel invited, they feel more invested. They want to help because they're like, hey, yeah, I get it, right? And at this point, you're going to pause. You're not going to start making up other sentences to be like, oh, assuaging them, oh, you don't have to think about it or blah, blah, blah. No, it's just like, what are your thoughts on that? Pause and don't say anything. Because if you ask something like a yes or no question, you're going to get a yes or no answer. And yes or no is so easy to say as opposed to what are your thoughts on that? They have to think about it. They have to answer, right? Now, at this point, they're on board. They're like, wow, you thought about it. Great job. I think that sounds good. Let's work through it, right? Or they tell you, nah, I don't know about that for XYZ reasons, right? They give you some more context. In which case, if it's the latter, you just repeat the steps, right? You go back to observe opportunities, which is you're getting information from your boss or whoever's involved about why it's a no, and you ask more information on that situation, and you just go through the steps again and come back. And I really cannot emphasize this. You have to follow up. So many of us, and I was guilty of this when I first started off, thought, it's one and done. I told them, it was said, we get it, right? They heard. No, you have to keep following up. Whatever the outcome is, you're going to, if you got the go ahead, you're going to follow up an email or a Slack message confirming what you understood from the conversation. And if something was incorrect in there, or misaligned, your boss should hopefully tell you. If not, great, like you all are on the same page, you're aligned, and it serves as a way of helping you track as well as holding accountable what it is that was agreed on. If you didn't get the go-ahead, you're going to repeat again the observe opportunities and decompose phases, and follow up with your new proposal. You don't just end there, right? And at this point, hopefully you got the go-ahead, so you're going to do it well. You're going to do the task you listed out, and you're going to execute excellence. You're going to do those things well, right? You're not going to, put half effort. Like you're actually going to give your full effort. And then you're going to follow up. Again, different colored slide here because this is so important. You have to follow up. Cannot stress enough. It's important that you maintain visibility on your progress. And even if people are supportive, they aren't going to remember everything, right? So your career aspirations are your own to manage and solicit help from others to facilitate. And that is why it's so important that you do this constant, meaningful conversation with whoever's involved. Yes, thank you, Blid, for putting the Ken Blanchard regarding the SMART goals. I appreciate that. All right, so there you have it. We now completed the algorithm that will transform obstacles into opportunities. And I've delivered on my promise to you on the 3 new skills you've been empowered with. You've learned how to change your frame of reference with the confront challenge step. And this helps you understand your motivations and identify the actual core obstacle you're aiming to address. You've learned how to ideate solutions within observe opportunities and decompose design. Gathering information on your situation enables you to discover new opportunities that may not have come to mind previously. And thinking through smaller steps to help achieve the select opportunity you have enabled you to create SMART goals that you can action on. And finally, you've learned how to begin having meaningful conversations about your career. This comes from the last 3 steps, actually: observe opportunities, decompose design, and execute excellence. By starting discussions with others and sharing your intention and aspirations, you open up the door for more opportunities to be available and that you can choose from. And so to recap, the algorithm that has enabled you with these 3 empowerment skills can be easily memorized with this mnemonic: code. So with that, I look forward to hearing how you have grown after implementing this algorithm in your life. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and tell me more about it. And with that, Vui, I'm happy to take questions.
Well, thank you so much, Michelle, for that really great talk. I really like how you created a process and you gave like specific examples on how to follow that process. That's fantastic. Personally, like pep talks are great, but I like something tangible, something I can work through. So that was amazing. Thank you so much. Let's see if people have any last minute questions for Michelle.
All right, question here. Vui, you want to read it or I can read it? I don't mind either way.
I guess I can read it. Where do you see VR going in the short term, in the next 1 to 3 years, tech-wise?
Oh man, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Sanid. It's such a tricky question because I am, if you looked at my LinkedIn, I am a VR enthusiast. I've worked in the Stanford Virtual Human Interaction Lab when I was doing my undergrad there. And so I'm very bullish about VR. Like I think that in the next, 1 to 3 years, we're going to probably start using it even more with, I'm sure you've even seen the news about the metaverse and things like that. But honestly, I think there's just so much potential to use it, not even just for socializing or for workplace stuff, but when we were in the lab, we used it for training for medical and understanding experiments, right? Things that you weren't able to do before. And so I think there's so much potential there. And I'm bullish because I really want it to succeed. I think on the more pragmatic side, there is going to be some challenges with adoption.
Let's see. Oh, Navati, she asked, could we get a glimpse at the code slide again?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me push back.
That's a great mnemonic too.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And I like how you made it sort of like a code snippet. So speaks to us. Oh, here's another question. What would you recommend doing if your obstacle is a teammate who wants the same promotion? And how do we turn this into an opportunity without stepping on toes?
Oh, great question, Catherine. I think in this situation, it's tricky because it's not necessarily your responsibility to manage other people's, own aspirations. Again, your aspirations are your own, and so their aspirations are their own. I think becomes more of an issue for your manager, and so if your manager has to make a case for both of you or either one of you, and I think having an honest discussion about, again, this is coming from your manager's perspective, having an honest discussion about what is the reality, because just because you want something may not mean that you're necessarily capable just yet, right? You might need to level up, or the other person might need to level up, right? And so what I recommend for you to keep doing is still keep advocating for yourself, even if someone else, if you get the promotion and the other person doesn't, you're like, oh no, now we have a little bit of bad blood. It wasn't, that's not your fault. And definitely don't rub it in their face, right? Don't be like, I got it. That's not the right approach. A true leader and people wanting promotions will help other people rise up with them, right? They come up the ladder with them. And so the short answer is you still keep advocating for yourself. You don't downplay yourself and be like, oh, well, I think, the other person wanted, so I don't want to step on their toes. That's not your responsibility. That's on your manager to figure out. So just advocate for yourself. And hopefully, if it comes down to it and the other person, I hope you have a good relationship with the other person. If you don't, then it's a little bit rocky, but if you have a good relationship, hopefully, they are mature enough to be like, hey, I get it. It's business. So we'll help each other out as we go. Right.
I think, if I may add to that, I think it's more complicated if there's limited budget, right, for number of promotions.
I mean, you're right, Vui. There could be that, and that's why I say it's more of your manager. It's not really anything about what you can do. Now, if you find out you don't necessarily have to be on the same team, maybe you can explore options on another team within the same company, right? If really what you want to do is get responsibilities, right? So understanding, again, going back to what it is that you really want, and if you happen to be the one that gets not the promotion, then understanding what it is that you can either do to continue forward learning skills or transfer to a new team, right?
I like that idea, thinking outside of the box and going back to what do I really want. It's fantastic. All right, so we have heard a lot in the chat about the struggle for new grads. Do you have specific advice for them?
Oh, struggle for new grads. I guess, can we have a little bit more? I'm assuming it's struggle to get a foot in the or get an offer. Is that right? Or what's the? All right, getting an offer. I think in this case it depends, right? If you're struggling to get the offers, it's again, you have to go back and reassess your situation. Is there something technically you could do more? If you're like, no, I'm really solid, there's some other stuff here. Maybe you can reach out to the company and ask them, hey, would you be willing to provide feedback? I will be, candid. You may not always get a response. It's unfortunate. A good place should at least respond to you and be like, hey, it had to do with there's a better candidate or whatever, right? Or we thought your skills needed more polishing in this area. They should be able to offer you that, and if they don't, that's a little sad. But being able to ask about what it is that you could have done to improve, or what it is that they were looking for, right? Sometimes it might be you're totally capable technically, and it wasn't a match because they had some other skills that they were looking for, right? And then follow up too. It's not even just hey, what wasn't I deficient in? What would make me stand out? What would have been helpful? And this is something as you're going through it, again, it's a little bit hard retroactively because sometimes companies don't respond to you. I think as you actually are getting recruiters talking to you, talk to the recruiters about it. Recruiters want to make your life easy. They want to get you in the door, right? They want you to go there. So your recruiter is your best advocate at that point. And ask the recruiter, hey, what is it that the format of the interview is going to be, right? Sometimes they should be able to tell you that and say, oh, we're going to do a technical interview with blah blah blah, and here's the people who are going to be involved. That kind of stuff. Ask information, right? Again, going back to the observe opportunities. What can they tell you? Can they tell you about what the format of the code is or the interview is going to be? Can they tell you more about what it is that makes a standout candidate? What it is that they see promising in you currently, right? Those are the kind of questions I would ask and get more information and then action on those.
Okay, and Navati has a question. How do we make a trade-off between achieving a goal but may require transferring teams, risking who you would work under, versus staying in the same team with a manager who is supportive, but this team doesn't have the opportunities you need?
It's a great question, Navati. I think at this point, you have to go back to the confront challenge step. You have to understand what is motivating to you. Is chasing the, I don't know what the goal is that you may be talking about. It might be, a promotion or whatever, or maybe a new platform, right? Is that more important than, the manager you're currently working with? And I want to be clear, just because you moved to another team doesn't mean like, the manager is now dead to you. You can absolutely have probably a mentorship relationship with that manager, right? And you should if you have a good relationship. But understanding what it is that you think is more valuable, and that's something that like I can't tell you for you. You have to like assess for yourself. I will say what's made it easy for I've been in some similar situation. So I'll say what I've done is I tell myself, well, I may not have the opportunity right now, but I can still gain skills. I can still it might not be on my team, but I can go other ways like my mentee did, right? And get similar skills through volunteering with an ERG or helping plan an engineering leadership offsite. Those are the kind of things that you can still get the kind of skills, but maybe not have the opportunity on your current team if the team is more important to you.
That's great. Let's see, do we have any more questions? Oh, another VR question coming up. Okay, do you think we are gearing more towards AR than VR? That's interesting.
A very polarizing question because again, I'm all about VR, and I have a friend that I joke with because he's all about AR, and I'm like, no, VR. But when we're not fisticuffing verbally, I think honestly, I think there's bigger potential in VR, but I think as far as like what is technically achievable and widely available to consumers and other people who are enthusiasts and want to get involved in this, it's probably going to be AR. I mean, AR, I think, is something where we have, games that support AR, right? I'm sure I'll be able to play Pokemon Go at some point, right? And things like that, where you even see AR, even things like on football screens, right? Where, showing you like, here's, where the new positions of something's going to be, or even tabletop gaming. Again, I'm coming from a gaming background, so I'm talking more about games. But I think as a whole, AR is a little bit more widely available to people, but I think VR has a bigger promise. And so my selfish desire is for VR, but I think the reality is AR at the moment.
All right, let's see. Do we have any more questions? Oh, what's your favorite game right now?
Ooh, my favorite game. My favorite game right now. It's going to sound cheesy, but actually I was surprised. They say sometimes when you work in gaming that you don't always enjoy working in the game you're working on. I actually have been enjoying playing a lot of Merge Dragons. It's very zen out mode for me. And it wasn't something I thought I actually would enjoy because I'm more of a hardcore player of like, I want to play like RPGs and things that I sink like, easily 60 hours into like Persona 5 or something, right? And so I've been enjoying that because it's just something where I could just like zen out. And I think that's having this kind of, what's the word for it? Comfy games. A comfy game is super helpful. Prior to that, it was Animal Crossing.
Awesome. Let's see, do we have any more questions? Let's see. And it doesn't look like any more have popped up. So, well, thank you so much, Michelle, once again for your talk and all your great advice. I don't know if you have any bonus parting words for us.
Yeah, I think the only thing I want to reiterate is if you find out that, you're getting stuck on a certain step, like always just pause and take a deep breath. Think about like who else can you talk to about it, right? It doesn't always have to be within um, your company. You could talk to people inside the other companies, right? You could talk to your friends and families. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, my friends aren't really in the tech sphere. What do they know? It doesn't matter. It's helpful to talk it out. And so I think that, being able to get a different perspective, especially someone who's supportive of you, is so
Right.
valuable. So,
Mhm.
well, one last question.
One last question. All right. I work for a company with less than 10 employees and want to grow more technically. What would you recommend?
Oh, Diney, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, I think the first step is having a candid conversation with whoever is, managing you or whoever is, responsible for um, planning your time and saying, hey, I want to grow in this way. I really can't emphasize enough that sharing what your intention is up front is super helpful. I think sometimes we get so caught up in the here's the solution, like, I want this. And the reality is like you need to talk about why you want that solution, the intention behind it, because maybe you won't get that exact solution, but if someone knows what your intention is, they can help you with another solution, right? Another opportunity. And so if you're in a company that's that small, I think there's actually plenty of opportunities for you to grow technically. It's a matter of I would caution managing your work life balance because it becomes very easy to get into burnout, thinking I have to do all the things, right?
Yeah. I think with a smaller company, there's a lot of opportunity to wear multiple hats, which is great for growth, but you do have to keep an eye on that work-life balance to avoid burnout for sure. Oh, interesting. So what do you do when you go follow an opportunity and then regret that choice?
Oh, great question, Brenna. So you go back to the algorithm. You confront the challenge. The challenge is you're regretting the choice, right? Like well, why are you regretting this choice? What happened or didn't happen that you expected? And then is there a way you can turn that around in your current opportunity, right? Like, like I don't quite know if there's a situation you feel comfortable sharing, but if it is something where you're like, well, it didn't pan out the way I wanted, or whatever. Like maybe again, you had a boss that wasn't as supportive, or I don't know. But understanding what is the issue you're facing, and then um, if you can have a conversation with that person or that thing, what it is that you want to do, or that isn't happening that you expected, like being able to communicate clearly what it is that you've observed, and make sure that the distinction here is when you say observe is like it has to be factual. It can't be like, oh, like again, if you have a problem with that. If you're having a problem with another teammate, it's like, oh, well, this person is so rude. It's like, well, okay, maybe like take a step back. Hey, when we talked in this last conversation, you said something, whatever it was they said verbatim, and this made me feel this way because I interpreted this way. I would appreciate if you did this different, right? So being able to come up and identify what it is that's happening, and then show how you can what it is that you're intending to happen, and what you want the behavior to be. Again, in that example.
Yeah, and I think in that particular example, it's not necessarily directly related to that opportunity because those kinds of coworker interactions that can be an issue like in any job, right? So yeah, so really take a look at what is the root of your concern and make sure you're not chasing the wrong thing.
Yeah. Right. Oh, Brandon has a follow-up here. You're
Oh,
worried about choosing the wrong employer. It hasn't happened. I guess I don't understand what wrong employer is for you. If wrong employer is like, hey, this person, yeah, I don't know. It wouldn't do me any good to suppose, but I think for you, if you can list out like for yourself, like, oh, wrong employers are people who don't, give good benefits or whatever, like whatever it is that's a wrong employer, you can make sure you can weed that out and talk about it.
yeah, and if I may add, I think it's important not to be too hard on yourself about the decisions that you make because I like to say, we make the decisions that we make based on the information that we have at the time. So I think the important thing is to learn from that experience and figure out, what can we do that might be better next time. That's my dog, so.
100% what Vui said. Absolutely.
There you go. You might want me to let him out in a bit. but it's noisy out there, so that's not to close the door. All right, any other last minute comments or questions? Oh, here we go. In your opinion, how can someone who in the mid-level, late 20s, early 30s work better with the upper management, seniors, and new generation, early 20s better?
Aaliyah, if you could, I guess, provide a little more context about what do you mean by work better? Is it communicating more? Is it, what does work better in this sense mean?
And we have only a couple of minutes left, so hopefully soon.
Well, hopefully Aaliyah can elaborate, but if I had to guess about communicating better, or if it's, you know, making a connection, maybe you want to do, you know, feel more bonded over something or whatever. I think, again, just having a honest conversation and lead with the intention, hey, my intention, you know, upper management people is I want to collaborate more. Communication would be great. I want to collaborate more on, you know, XYZ or whatever it is that you want to do more of, right? And I believe this is going to enable us, again, relevance back to the company, to do, you know, achieve our OKR or our key performance indicator, KPI, right? Like do this thing, right? And so sharing your intention and then sharing how it's going to help them is a good way of you know, starting off, and then invite them again to the competition. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, how do you think we can work on this together? And very key not to do yes or no. Always ask, what do you think? Or how can we, right? That's how I would recommend working with most people. And I don't think it matters about your age. It applies to everybody.
Yeah, I like to do open-ended questions as well because it does open up, you know, much better discussions that way, for sure. All right, well, thank you again, Michelle, for that great talk, and I think that was a really amazing Q&A. Got a lot of great discussion, and yeah, thanks for everyone who attended the talk. I hope you will enjoy watching the other talks and participate in the networking and expo and everything else that this conference has to offer.